All right, welcome to the Default Profitable Podcast, the show that's a toolbox to start, build, and grow a profitable business. Whether you're a founder, a leader, or just a builder starting to dream, this podcast should be a resource for you to come in and pick up some lessons from successful business owners. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton, and today my guest is Jesse Porter. Jesse, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having us.
No problem. So we haven't really met. We haven't really talked. Before we jump into the whole business thing, why don't you give us 2 to 3 minutes about yourself? How'd you get here? Who are you?
Goodness. See, this is one of those issues. I feel like I could start 100 different places.
Oh, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Kokomo, Indiana, a small little town just north of Indy. I went to, I guess, a community college. It's IUK up there in Kokomo. Stayed home for college. Got a degree in accounting. Last year in school, I knew I wanted nothing to do with accounting.
Good decision.
A degree would get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And so it did. Shortly after graduating, I started sending my resume out places. I got contacted by some company to do sales. Never really saw myself as the type of person that could do sales. But my buddy told me just give it a shot. And I mean, right out of college, I'm ready for something new. So I did.
So what was the first thing you sold?
Actually, office supplies.
Okay.
I sold for a company that sold through Quill, which is a subsidiary of Staples. It's a warehouse-based company. And so they're able to sell things a little bit cheaper. And so I actually credit that company for my success in sales moving forward, even though I was only with them for about a month. I learned quite a bit through them. I learned quite a bit from them.
All right. So after a month, what'd you go do?
I pitched the owner of a roofing company, and he recruited me on the spot. I think I met him Wednesday. He wanted me to come in on Friday for an interview. I did, and started with him the next Monday.
All right. So how long did you work for other roofing companies?
Almost 5 years.
So 5 years.
I worked for the first company for about 2 years, 9 months. I left there and worked for the next company for 2 years, almost exactly. And that's when I started Porter. So I started getting Porter set up anyways.
Well, okay. So let's talk about Porter. So 4 years, 9 months after you sell your first roof, you decided to start your own company. What was the switch that flipped for you?
Well, I think that I kind of always had the entrepreneurial spirit, I guess you could say. So I always knew I was going to start a company at some point anyways. And the timing, things just kind of aligned. It was everything going on with my family. You know, I was talking to my wife about it, and it was just kind of the perfect storm. I kind of maxed out what I could do at the previous company. And, you know, we had plenty of conversations that year, and it just didn't seem like it was going to go anywhere. And so, like I said, talking to my wife, we decided it was the time. It was the right time to do it.
All right. So 160 plus episodes into this podcast, the consistent message has been, in order to start a business and do it correctly, you have to have 6 months of savings. You have to have a detailed strategic plan, and you have to have a clear understanding of what your customers are willing to pay for. So how many of those 3 did you actually have?
I mean, I knew the customers well. I was really good at selling roofs. I excelled. I mean, I was the top sales guy at both companies I worked for. I learned a lot of things at those companies. I learned things that I knew I didn't want to do. But I learned plenty of good habits from them as well. But as far as I wasn't the most prepared person when I did it. I took the leap, and I've always been the one who would figure it out, and that's what I did.
So just so you know, the average number of answers is 0.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows theoretically you're supposed to have those things, but almost none of the people that I've talked to on this podcast actually have them.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me.
So you start the business, you've been in roofing for 5 years. What what are some of the things that you learned that you were surprised you needed to know when you ran the business?
I feel like I mean, I've learned an incredible amount I've learned a lot over the last 5, 6 years. But I feel like it also took me a while to adapt and make the changes I needed to make. One one of the big things I've been working on here lately is just making a decision. A couple people that I follow and I've been reading a lot of books this year, especially, but um, just making a decision, the time it takes to make a decision, even if it's a wrong one, um, it's just make a decision. And if you need to adjust, then you can adjust. But being slow to making that decision is going to be worse than making the wrong decision out the gate.
Yes.
So I think that's one of the big things. Um, and the other thing is being intentional with who you surround yourself with. Um, there's, I think, one of the biggest headaches I've ever dealt with is just keeping the wrong people around for too long and making excuses and thinking that you need them when ultimately it's what's bringing you down. Um, and so making sure you surround yourself with the right people. Um, yeah, I think that's huge.
So, in the first year of your business, did you have multiple crews or did you start with relatively small with just yourself and a couple crew?
So everything as a general contractor, everything we do, we sub out.
Okay.
I had met plenty of good subs through my years working with other companies that I knew did really good work, and so uh, I had I had a few roofing crews out the gate. I mean, at this point, we do pretty much anything exterior wise. We started out with roofing, still kind of our specialty, I suppose. But I mean, we do quite a bit of siding, quite a bit of gutters. We can handle anything exterior wise. Um, but but yeah, I you have crews reaching out all the time. But at the end of the day, it's making sure that you have the right ones that are going to do quality work. And so, any crew that ever worked for me, I had someone who vouched for them, or I'd seen their work firsthand myself.
So, as you're starting the business, um, at what point so this is a common kind of transition. People start a business, and at some point they get into it and they realize that their vision of their business was smaller than it needed to be. Have you hit that point yet?
Can you ask that again?
So it seems like a lot of the people I interview, when they start the business, they're very focused on a function, right? They're like, well, I can do this and I can make money at it. But as they
Right.
go, like year 2, year 3, year 4, they realize, well, wait a minute, we can do more than just that. We can do this universe of things. We can be bigger than I thought we would be. It
Yeah.
sounds like you started with roofs and you've kind of expanded into other parts of exterior remodeling.
Right. Yeah. I think actually the first siding job I ever did in this industry was actually with Porter. So I mean, I went almost 5 years without ever doing a single siding job. Um, and so I didn't really know a ton about it, but I got certified. I went through training and I learned it myself. Um, and then again, just connected with crews that I had friends in the industry who ran companies and, um, they vouched for the crews. But yeah, I think in the beginning, it was just based on that's what I knew. Because in the other companies, it's really just roofing and gutters is pretty much what I did.
All right. How has been, so do you have, how large is your in-house staff? Do you have an in-house staff?
Yeah. I think we're around 30 employees right now.
Okay. How is the added employees complicated things?
um, Employees I think that was one of the big pieces that I wasn't prepared for. Um, it can be tough, really tough. I think it was one of one of the things I struggled with the most. And I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Um, this year, I really kind of took myself out of the decision mill. I tried to take myself out of the decision making process. Um, and still made a few more mistakes this year. So at this point, I've completely taken myself out of that, and empowered other people my other leaders to kind of handle that at this point, because I I'm too nice. And while I don't want people to aren't gonna be nice, one of my weaknesses is accountability. I just give people too many chances. And so, yeah, employees, while great at times, also sometimes not so great.
They create challenges.
Right.
So, all right. So you started in 2019, year before COVID. I'm sure you didn't have COVID on your bingo card for 2020. How did that affect the
No,
business?
yeah. Yeah, we set up the company in September of 19, really just in preparation for the 2020 season. Um, so yeah, fast forward to March of 2020, and new contractor. Probably, I guess one of my other huge weaknesses was marketing. I didn't know too much about it. I always self gen, so I hunted all my leads in previous companies, and so that's what I knew, and that's it worked, right? Um, but March 2020, COVID is huge, and you can't you can't prospect the same way at that point in time. Um, we did get hit with a storm in our area, which made things easier. We were considered essential workers, and it actually, I think, helped us quite a bit, um, because everyone's home. What did most people do? They're sitting around the house all day. They started thinking about home projects they wanted to get done, and so it actually, it, while until that March storm hit, it was really really scary. Um, but once it hit the year, I mean, we did far more year one than I ever could have expected.
So did that excess of success cause any difficulties for you that you hadn't thought of?
Absolutely. One thing that I did do year one early on, which was different from what I'd seen from other people who started their companies in this industry, um, was I brought in support, office support, to help me early on. I actually hired my sister-in-law, um, and her organization, and the way that all my weaknesses basically were her strengths. And so I think that helped me a lot. I knew that if she took the amount of time, that the responsibilities that she took off my plate, for one, they're not only going to be, the work's not going to only going to be done better, but it's going to free me up to work on where my strengths are. Um, I feel like I went on a pivot right there, and I lost what the question even was.
Um, Problems
Sorry.
created when you did too well.
Yes.
Yes. So you hired
Yeah,
your
and so,
sister-in-law. Go.
right. But with the amount of business we were doing, yeah, it definitely created other issues. I mean, I feel like 2020, were just sprinting the entire year and figuring it out as we go. We got pretty backed up on invoicing. My thought process back then was, if I'm gonna have any part of this experience and process for this homeowner, lacking, then it's gonna be them paying their bill. It's not gonna be any service that I'm providing. And so that then created its own issues. So yeah, um, a lot of adapting and adjusting while in full sprint.
Any So I would assume a boom in roofing with a slowdown in invoicing creates a cash flow nightmare.
It did. Um, we figured it out. I mean, we were. I ran everything pretty lean. I mean, Nicole was really my only um, salaried employee.
Yeah.
Everyone else were all my staff were all 100% commission, and so they're only collecting when we collect. And so that helped us. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge.
It is, it's been a consistent theme with business owners that they spend a lot of time waiting for checks to arrive in a mailbox early on
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you've got bills due on this day and the mail better get here.
Yeah. And
So,
when you're dealing with in 2020, since there was that big storm that we had, a lot of the work that we did was actually insurance work. And in those situations, you actually have to wait even longer. So I could invoice just because I'm invoicing doesn't mean I'm getting paid. I have
right.
to wait for them to respond for one, but then after that, actually release payment. And then if the mortgage company's on it, you got to worry about them getting endorsed. And so like I was delayed in invoicing, and then even once the invoice went out, it was still a delay to receive funds. So
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if you're familiar with Pete the Planner, but what he talked about is his lesson was that business math is not home finance math. There's like a whole different level of complication.
yeah.
So, what so you've been in business for yourself for 6 years now, basically. Well, really 5, depending on when you count. You set it up in 2019, but you probably have some friends that have come to you and said, "Hey, I actually did the accounting thing and I'm kind of bored. Now I want to do my own thing." How do you have a conversation with somebody that says, "Hey, I want to be a business owner like you?" What do you tell them?
I my wife used to get upset with me about this. I've actually helped a lot of people who have wanted to go out there and do that. My wife would always say I was sharing too much information, but at the end of the day, it didn't hurt me any. Sure, we're creating a competition, but um, at the end of the day, we don't really go against each other very often. It's very rare for that to be happening, and so um, I, I've I've helped a lot of my friends. Different advice. There's a lot of guys in this industry who act like they don't want to talk to anyone else. They're not here for friends and whatnot. But I'm in a group text with 6 other owners, and we bounce things off each other all the time. And at the end of the day, we care about the industry and improving it. And that's not just for me and our customers. It's the industry as a whole.
Yeah, that is an awesome abundance mindset. So now your wife's right about many things. I think she's wrong about that. So,
She loves it too. She loves it, but she felt like sometimes I gave way too much. But there's no secret sauce. It's just caring and doing the right thing.
yeah. So if 2025, uh, Jason or Jesse, sorry, if 2025 Jesse could go back and sit down next to 2019 Jesse, and you could say, "Hey, listen, 6 years later, everything works out. But tomorrow, when you start the company, here's what you need to do first." What would that first thing be?
Oh man. Oh, I was I was prepared to answer a version of that question, but not necessarily that exact one. Um,
Well, what version were you prepared to answer?
a potential business owner, what should they do first?
Well, that was the last thing. So now we're gonna move on to this. You handled the
Yeah.
last one great.
Oh man. Be more organized. I I was naive. I in the beginning I said I was going to track everything. Everything that we did I was going to track. And when you're sprinting, it's not very easy to track it. Um, I think that our processes could have been we could have been in a lot better position if we would have documented those processes well earlier on, um, and just streamlined some of the things that we were having to do. Um, and so I guess I would figure out how to do what I initially wanted to do, what I wasn't capable of doing then.
So
I guess
just
I'm
keeping
good at it
better
now.
track of data.
Yeah,
All right. Anything else that you would advise somebody who's a brand new or aspiring business owner? Any other advice you'd give them?
I think the biggest thing is just take the step. Sometimes when something, you're looking forward to doing something that seems so big, it's like, how am I going to handle this? Someone once said is, how do you climb a mountain? One step at a time. So just take the step and figure it out. And the making decisions, I think it's actually Alex Hermosi who I heard talking about that. If I'm not mistaken, but he said he'll make 10 wrong decisions before someone else makes the first one, and he'll find the right answer long before the other person, because he was just willing to go. He's willing to make the mistake and figure it out.
Yeah, I think I think it was a World War II general who said a mediocre plan executed violently today beats a perfect plan executed 6 months from now.
Yeah.
So yeah, attacking problems is a good thing. Well, that's a quick 20 minutes, and there are a lot of good fundamental basics in there. So, Jesse, thanks for being a guest on Default Profitable. If you're listening and you want to learn more about Jesse or his company, go to the show notes at defaultprofitable.com. If you like what you're hearing, 3 ways as a listener you can help us. Leave a review, hit subscribe, or share an episode with somebody. We'll be back next week. Until then, stay focused, keep working, stay profitable.